Greetings, Guardians of Dominion. Zeus here with another enlightening video. Today, I'm diving into a series of Guus battles that absolutely blew my mind. Not because of flashy wins or massive damage, but because of the raw healing, insane survivability, and how this hero can single-handedly hold the front line when built correctly. If you've ever doubted Guus or wondered how to unlock his full potential, this video is going to change the way you see him. Let's get into the action and break it all down. To truly evaluate a hero's potential, I don't just throw them into a few random fights. I run focused tests, pairing the hero with various teammates, not necessarily aiming for victory, but to observe how that hero performs in different contexts. The goal isn't to win, but to understand. I want to define the hero's upper and lower performance limits, what I call the support limit and down limit. Once I identify those, it becomes much easier to build around that hero and uncover ideal synergy combinations. So, when testing Guus, I started by reviewing his skill set and then gradually building a team that could highlight his strengths. One of the first things I do with any hero is pair them with Nebula. Most heroes show their true potential when buffed by Nebula, especially those whose power scales with a single focused stat. If the hero is physical, meaning their abilities scale with physical attack, then Sebastian often becomes a perfect support. So naturally, I tested Guus with both Nebula and Sebastian. Then, I added Aidan to the team, not for his healing, but to manipulate Guus's position. By placing Aidan in the backline, I was able to push Guus into the front row. That shift alone makes a huge difference. When Guus is in front, he absorbs more damage, which in turn charges his ultimate more frequently. And the more he casts, the more value we get, not just in damage, but in survivability and utility. Next, I introduced Fafnir to provide an extra layer of armor protection. I deliberately chose not to include a secondary healer, because I wanted to isolate Guus's self-sustain capabilities. I didn't want another healer clouding the numbers, I wanted to see just how much Guus could do on his own. To further amplify his healing, I equipped the War Flag of Recovery, which boosts healing effects by 10%. And for the pet, I chose Axel, because of his seaweed mechanic, which increases healing received by 50% for the ally with the lowest health. This made it even easier to test Guus's ability to keep himself alive under pressure. This team wasn't built to win, it was built to test. There was no dedicated damage dealer in the lineup. The battles often ended in timeouts, which was expected. That was never the point. The point was to discover how long Guus could survive, how often he could cast his abilities, and how much healing he could generate. And in that regard, the results were absolutely mind-blowing. In some fights, Guus actually managed to eliminate enemies by himself, but in most cases, the fights dragged on because of a lack of armor penetration, which meant his damage wasn't enough to finish off tougher foes. Still, the raw numbers he produced were nothing short of insane. Across almost every battle, Guus delivered over 7 million healing, sometimes even crossing the 10 million mark. In one particular test, he absorbed and survived Kira's total output of 24 million damage, and still stood strong. That's not just potential, that's resilience. This test proved Guus isn't just a support or a healer, he's a frontline survivor, capable of carrying entire battles if you build around him properly. The reason I didn't include any damage dealers in this test was simple, I wanted the battles to last longer. If I added strong attackers, the enemy team might have been wiped out too quickly, and that would have made it difficult to truly evaluate Guus's healing over time. My goal here wasn't victory, it was observation. I needed to push Guus to the limit and see how much punishment he could take and how much healing he could provide under pressure. But what if you do want to use this setup in real fights with actual damage dealers? That's where things get interesting. In this formation, Fafnir and Aidan aren't here to deal damage, they're simply here to keep Guus alive and protected long enough to shine. Fafnir adds armor, Aidan keeps Guus in the front line where he receives more damage, triggering his ultimate more frequently. If you want to maintain high healing output, Nebula remains essential. She boosts Guus's core stats and amplifies the effectiveness of his healing. If you also want to improve your team's offensive potential, then Sebastian becomes the perfect complement, especially when paired with physical attackers. That leaves 2 spots open, perfect for adding your main damage dealer and a support hero who helps with armor penetration. A classic example would be pairing Lara Croft with Lyria. Lyria not only weakens enemy defenses but also supports Lara Croft, while Guus keeps them alive through sustained healing. And if you continue using Axel as your pet, his damage distribution keeps Guus taking hits across the board, charging his ultimate and maintaining healing pressure throughout the fight. This synergy can create a well-balanced team that thrives in longer battles, survivability plus steady output. Of course, it doesn't have to be Lara Croft and Lyria, you can substitute them with your preferred damage dealer and support combo. The key is making sure you maintain the right structure, keep Guus alive, amplify his healing, and give your DPS the time they need to finish the job. In my tests, this team held up impressively well against physical attackers, especially heroes who rely on sustained basic attacks. But when facing high-burst magic teams, especially ones with crowd control or pure damage, the team struggled due to the lack of a proper counter or fast damage output. That highlights the balance. Guus can be the backbone of your team, but to make the most of him, you need to build around him smartly. Think of him not as a healer you add to a team, but as a hero you build the team around. And that wraps up our deep dive into Guus. As you've seen, his healing potential is absolutely insane when supported correctly. Whether he's tanking massive physical hits or sustaining a team through long battles, Guus proves he's more than just a support, he's the backbone of survival. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you tested Guus in your own teams? What setups worked best for you? Drop a comment below and let's share some strategies. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another breakdown from the Dominion. Until next time. Stay sharp, build smart, and remember, in the right hands, even the quietest hero can become the loudest force on the battlefield. Salute and friendship.